Stay strong after 60. Simple daily moves to keep your body young. You know, after turning 60, what surprised me the most wasn't the graying hair. It was how quietly my body began to change. No alarm bells, no sharp pain to warn me. Just one morning, I noticed I rose from my chair a bit slower. I needed the handrail to step down the porch. And sometimes, lifting my little grandchild wasn't as effortless as it used to be. People call it sarcopenia, age-related muscle loss. It sounds like a cold clinical term from a textbook, but in truth, it's a silent thief, stealing away our strength, our confidence, and our independence, thread by thread, day by day. I've seen it in so many of my patients. People who once climbed mountains, built homes, worked tirelessly all their lives, suddenly struggling just to rise from bed or trembling as they step off the curb. They aren't weaker in spirit. Their bodies have simply stopped listening to them the way they used to. And when the body stops feeling steady, the heart becomes cautious. They hesitate to go out, to try new things, to live fully as they once did. But here's what few people ever tell us. This can be reversed. I've seen men and women in their 70s, even 80s, once frail and weary, slowly, through the right exercises and patient consistency, reclaim their steady gait, bring back the spark in their eyes, and even laugh out loud with life again. We cannot stop the sun from setting, but we can keep the fire inside from going out. No gym, no machines, just a sturdy chair, a solid wall, a few mindful minutes each day, and above all, a promise to yourself that you are still worth being strong. Someone once told me, getting older means accepting that you'll slow down. I smiled and said, no, getting older means learning how to move more wisely. Because when we stop moving, the body begins to forget how to live, and the first thing it forgets is strength. I once lost nearly 15% of my muscle mass within just a few years after turning 60, not because of illness, but because I was busy. Busy living, busy taking care of everyone else, and forgetting about myself. Little by little, my strength slipped away like sand through my fingers, until one day, I almost fell stepping off a curb. That sudden stumble felt like a slap, and I knew, if I didn't act, I would slowly lose the life I loved. So I began with the smallest things, and I want to share them with you, not as exercises, but as tiny rituals of freedom. First ritual, chair squats, sitting down to rise up stronger. I begin every morning with an old wooden chair by the window. No dumbbells, no machines, no music, just me, and a quiet challenge to myself. Stand up as if you were still 30. When you sit down and stand back up without using your hands, you're teaching your legs to trust themselves again. Research from the National Institute on Aging shows that simple everyday movements like this can rebuild muscle mass, increase walking speed, and reduce the risk of falls by up to 40% in older adults. And the most beautiful part is this. Each time I stand, I'm not just lifting my body, I'm lifting my own faith in myself. When the wall becomes your coach. Wall push-ups. There was a time I couldn't lift my grandson off the sofa, and the brief flicker of disappointment in his eyes pierced right through my heart. So I started doing gentle push-ups against the kitchen wall. Wall push-ups don't demand strong knees or flexible wrists. But with each press of my chest toward the wall, it felt like I was pushing back against the quiet weakness trying to settle into me. Just 10 to 15 reps a day. And within weeks, my shoulders felt steadier. My chest opened naturally, and strangely enough, my posture began to carry pride again. The quiet strength of legs, heel raises, rising on your toes to stand tall. We rarely think about our calves until the day they start betraying us. I used to wake up at night with sudden cramps, my legs trembling like taut strings, and I remember standing by the sink, hands lightly resting on the counter, slowly rising up on my toes, then lowering back down with care, feeling my legs awaken something that had been asleep for a long time. Studies from the Journal of Aging and Physical Activity show that just a few minutes of heel raises each day can improve balance, increase walking speed, and significantly reduce the risk of falls in adults over 65. Now every time I rise onto my toes, I imagine I'm planting my roots deeper into the earth, so I can reach higher, without fearing the wind. When a hunched back begins to tell sad stories, resistance band rows. I used to walk as straight as a sailor on deck. Then one day, looking in the mirror, I saw my reflection curve slightly forward, like a question mark etched by time. I refused to let that question go unanswered. I bought a simple resistance band, looped it around a door handle, and each morning, I sat down and gently pulled it toward my chest. That slow, steady motion awakened the muscles running along my back, the rhomboids, latissimus dorsi, and rear deltoids, those invisible pillars that hold us upright in life. Within weeks, my shoulders began to open. My breaths grew deeper. My steps found their rhythm again. And the most precious thing of all, I reclaimed the posture that lets me walk into any room feeling quietly proud to be who I am. A quiet conversation with my knees, seated knee extensions. When the knees begin to quietly complain, life itself starts to quietly shrink. I used to dread the stairs, hesitate to bend down and pick things up, even avoid my gentle evening walks. Then I began practicing right there in my favorite armchair, sitting tall, lifting one leg forward, holding it for a few seconds, then lowering it slowly, switching sides, steady as breathing. The quadriceps, those front thigh muscles, are the shock absorbers of the knees. When they grow stronger, the knees ache less, wobble less, and every step feels lighter again. I still remember the first time I climbed all 10 steps without stopping. I wanted to cheer out loud, like a child discovering their legs for the very first time. A little dance, beside the bed, standing marches. I like to call this one the March of Freedom. It's as simple as standing in place, lifting each knee as if walking on the spot, arms swinging in a gentle rhythm. It may look a bit silly, but it's a wonderfully effective exercise for the neuromuscular system, restoring coordination, balance, and light cardiovascular endurance. I often play an old jazz record, close my eyes, and imagine myself strolling through Central Park in autumn. Golden leaves drifting onto my shoulders, each step a quiet promise. I'm still moving forward. Strength from the breath. Diaphragmatic breathing. You might be surprised that I call breathing an exercise. But after 60, I've come to believe this. If we don't relearn how to breathe, our bodies will forget how to truly live. I've taught many older patients to lie on their backs, place a hand gently on their belly, inhale slowly until the belly rises, then exhale softly as the belly sinks. This simple practice strengthens the diaphragm, increases oxygen to the muscles, reduces stress, and strangely enough, it makes us calmer, braver. Because sometimes, strength doesn't come from muscles. It comes from a breath that refuses to tremble in the face of life. Speaking with gravity, single leg stance. The last exercise I want to share won't make you break a sweat, but it carries a quiet kind of strength, more profound than any other. Standing on one leg. I usually rest my fingertips lightly on the table, lift one foot off the ground, hold my balance for a few seconds, then switch sides. At first, I trembled like a leaf. But day by day, I stood steadier, longer, more confident. This simple stance trains the vestibular system and proprioception, our body's sense of where it is in space, something that often fades after 60 and quietly increases our risk of falling. Each time I stand still like this, I imagine myself as an old tree, Not as tall as I once was, but with roots that reach deep, standing firm against the wind. You know, strength isn't measured by how much weight you can lift, but by how many more days you can lift your life and live it fully. And what I've learned after over 30 years as a doctor and 60 years as a human being is this: no exercise is ever small if it helps you take one more step toward the life you love. We can't turn back the clock, but we can rebuild the boat that will carry us forward. And each time you choose to rise from your chair, to lift onto your toes, or simply to take a deep, steady breath, you are quietly telling age itself, I'm still here, and I still choose to live strong. If you're still listening to me now, maybe deep inside, you're like me. You still want to keep moving forward, not just keep existing. Years ago, I thought aging was a slow slope downward, like an hourglass slowly running out. But now, after 3 decades as a physician and 3 decades as someone who has aged, I've learned something vital. Age doesn't take away strength. Giving up does. These exercises I've shared today aren't meant to turn us into athletes. They are meant to help us keep the most precious thing about growing older: freedom. Freedom to step into the garden at sunrise. Freedom to sit on the floor with your grandchild without worrying if you can stand back up. Freedom to carry a bag of groceries, cook your own dinner, and smile proudly, knowing, I can still take care of myself. Freedom to walk by the ocean, hand in hand with the one who has walked beside you through the years. Not afraid of falling, not afraid of becoming a burden. Those small, seemingly simple movements, rising from a chair, lifting onto your toes, taking a deep breath, holding your balance, are the quiet bricks that rebuild the house of strength that age has been trying to wear down. And you don't need to do them all at once. Just choose one, then add another on a different day. Because strength doesn't come from one intense burst in a single day. It comes from gentle, steady commitment every day. I've seen eyes that once looked clouded by age begin to sparkle again after just a few weeks of practice. I've seen backs that once stooped with fatigue stride proudly through my clinic doors as if stepping onto a stage. And I've seen it in myself. From a weary old doctor to a 60-year-old man who can still dance a few swing steps with his wife in the kitchen. So if tomorrow morning you wake up and think, I'm too old to start now, remember this: you're not starting to get younger. You're starting to keep living in the way you choose. Because life after 60 is not the leftovers. It's the reward for all the years you've made it through. Give yourself that gift: a steady body, a heart unafraid of the wind, a spirit that has never learned how to surrender. And remember, it's not age, but daily movement that is the true secret to longevity. So, stand up now, just one first step. Your body will find the rest of the way. And if you want to keep walking this path of strength with me, hit subscribe below. So each week, I can send you gentle exercises and simple, powerful tips, like little health letters, tapping softly on your door each morning. Don't forget to share this video with a friend your age, because who knows, they might also need a reminder that there's still so much worth living for. And I'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment saying, I'm ready to be strong again. Because sometimes, just writing down a promise is already your first step on the journey back to strength. Do this for yourself, because you deserve to live the years ahead, not in fear, but in freedom.